Boy, are you in for a treat. Today I had my absolute favorite person, my beauty, my bride, my best friend, Hannah, on the podcast. And I'm so excited for you to hear this conversation about our family. Part one of two. It's chaotic. The boys wake up during nap. It's very fun. They make an appearance on the podcast, which is fun for you to get to see them. But this is my conversation I've been so excited to have with my bride. Here she is.
Welcome to the Family Table. I'm Matthew Efird. Join me as I speak with parents, caregivers, and family experts about the joys and challenges of family life. We'll share the stories, advice, and insights that will help you build a loving and resilient family. Pull up a chair and join us at the Family Table. Welcome, everybody, to the Family Table. I'm your host, Matthew Efird, and I have the greatest guest that we have had to date that I am so excited about is my beautiful bride, my best friend, my absolute favorite, Hannah. And I'm so excited for us to have this conversation. Our boys are inside, some of them napping, some of them hanging out inside. So who knows how long we're actually going to be able to talk. We have this set up. We're trying to use Zoom. So we have it set up this way. And here I am. Hey. So we're kind of hanging out here in Washington, D.C., which we're going to get into why we're doing it here. It's kind of special. But to my beautiful bride, tell us a little bit about yourself, and why don't we start with how we met?
Okay, so I am Hannah Efird, Matthew's wife, as he said already. So we met in middle school. So if you didn't know this already, Matthew and I grew up in the same hometown. So I'm originally from Blairsville, Georgia, which is in the Northeast Georgia mountains. I was born in Florida, but you know, home is definitely Georgia for us. So we met in middle school, and when we were talking a little bit about this and me being on the podcast, I knew immediately what I was going to say about how I met Matthew, and his response was just that. He said,
Oh,
"Oh
no.
boy." So it's not anything bad, but the distinctive thing about Matthew that I remember when I met him in middle school, which is still true for him today, and if you could see what he is wearing, is he wore these bright colored sneakers. So from an early age, never afraid to be his own person and his own style. And why I say, if you can see what he's wearing now, his croc of choice is red, white, and blue American flag croc.
So here's my Crocs for those that are watching. My boys helped me pick these out, and I wear them almost every day.
Yes. But just a little difference in us. I would have chosen, like I've chosen for the boys, a plain black croc. But no, in Matthew fashion, he wanted his own pick, which he's been doing since middle school. So anyway, that's just a little fun thing about how I came about knowing who Matthew Efird was. So we met in middle school, and you know, if you've had friends or have kids in middle school, friends in middle school, or you know who they are. We were both interested in sports, and I actually cheered in middle school, and he played for the football team, so we knew each other a little bit through that. I would say in high school, though, is when our friendship definitely blossomed and grew, and we found out more about each other and our families, and we hung out as actual friends and things like that.
I was secretly courting you a lot in high school. And so we became very close in high school.
Mhm.
And I had graduated. We went to a summer camp with our church. And I can still remember the place. We're actually going to go there in a few days, which is kind of crazy. But I can remember sitting on this hill talking with you after one of the sessions. And do you remember what that conversation was? Do you remember what I'm talking about?
I do, on the grassy hill.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember.
And
You want me to share what the conversation
yeah,
was?
sure.
Okay, so also the timing of this needs to be talked about.
I wasn't. Yeah, that's how it needs to be shared. Yeah.
So also, I think this was a 18-year-old or 19-year-old, I guess, male mind at the time of, this is going to be a great time to drop this huge relationship change on my at the time best friend. So Matthew was about to move 4, 5 hours
Yeah,
away
4.5.
to go play college football at Cumberland University. And he decided then that that was a good time to share with me that he would like for me to consider my thoughts on us becoming more than just best friends. That
Yeah, maybe not the best timing. So we went, that was the end of July, towards the end of
correct.
July.
Mhm.
I think we normally went with First Baptist like the second or third week of July. And then I
Right.
had to report like July.
Probably like 21st, 25th, somewhere around
Yeah, it
the
wasn't
end
the
of July.
25th because I remember the 25th
Oh, yeah,
because that's when we officially started dating. At least that's
that's
what I
true.
consider. But it was very close around then.
Uh-huh.
And so I moved 4.5 hours away,
Right,
um, Monday through Saturday. I'm booked all day,
right.
and at night we talked a lot.
Mhm.
So talk through like what you remember during that time of dating, early dating specifically, but dating long distance. Like, were you thankful for that? If you look back on it, are you thankful for that experience? Was it more difficult than it should have been? Kind of what are your thoughts there?
So actually, now that we've been married for quite some time and together for even longer, I've never really considered our early dating, but you asking that question kind of brings to light. I wonder if it has to do with why we can communicate so well,
Yeah,
just for our age and how we've been able to do that for so long so well. Not that we're bragging on ourselves, we just hear that from people often of, wow, you and
sure.
Matthew communicate really well. So maybe it's because it was a forced thing. What I do remember then, and even, having thought back in the past, was I did not like doing this. The video thing, Zoom was very new
Yeah,
then. I feel like it may have actually came out that year or maybe a year or two before.
yeah.
It was still very fresh, or Skype. I don't mean
Yeah, I
not
think it
even
was
been
Skype.
Zoom.
I don't think it was Zoom
Okay.
because it was
So
2010.
so I hated it. I didn't hate talking to you. I just did not like being on camera. And full disclosure, I've been very apprehensive about doing this, about being on camera. And
And you're doing a fantastic job.
well, that's very kind. Also, I feel like you're my biggest cheerleader. So even if I'm not, he's going to say that I am. Um, so I did not enjoy that. I enjoyed our long conversations. You helped me a lot with physics and calculus. Um, because so two things that stick out to me about our early dating is one, I did not like video chatting. You really very much so enjoyed it. You wanted to be able to see each other and talk, which I totally understand. It just made me apprehensive. But two, the second thing, and maybe the main thing I remember about our early dating is the reason you were having to help me with physics and calculus is because I got a really bad case of mono that fall, which would have been a month or two after we had been dating. So my parents knew who Matthew was. So my parents knew Matthew, obviously, and had for several years at this point, but we had not been formally, dating
Yeah.
until the end of July. So we have just freshly started dating.
And then you
Right.
get the kissing disease.
Right,
At least
exactly.
that's what it was called at the time.
Right. So, thankfully my parents are very trusting of me, trusting of Matthew. And it also helped that when we went to the doctor, they said that I probably got it from the water cooler at cross country practice. Understandably, everybody's mouths are, touching the cup and refilling and so on and so forth. So I missed a lot of school because I got really sick because I was going too much, trying to stay too busy and not taking care of myself while I was sick. So I missed a lot of school, and Matthew had to help me a lot with those areas that were not strengths of mine. So that's what I remember about early dating.
I remember early dating, and I remember traveling back on weekends when I was free to come see you. And I can remember that a lot. I also remember of early days wanting to be together, right? And the physical intimacy in any relationship, right? I mean, you want that. as a dating relationship, you don't. And so I've thought back and shared with a lot of people over the years that I'm so thankful for our early days because it forced us to communicate and it forced us to learn in this intimate relationship in the dating side to communicate with one another, not just physically, but to communicate and to be friends. All right, so we are back. We've had an addition. Can you put your headphones back in? You got them in? We've had an addition to the group, and I'm sure we'll have more before this is over. So would you like to introduce our addition?
This is Warren. Can you say hi?
Hey, buddy.
So he was taking a nap and he apparently was napping really hard because he woke up, was not happy that he was inside by himself. So now he's going to sit with us for a little bit until he
He's going
calms
to be out
down.
here until he calms down and he'll probably go play. So,
Yeah.
life of parenting. So, early years dating, remember that. All right, so then you go to UGA.
Yes.
You
After I
have
graduated high school.
graduated high school, you're younger than I am. So we started dating as high school sweethearts. So we start dating going into your senior year of high school. I'm my freshman in college. And then we go from that into you get into UGA early because you're brilliant and you're great and you did all the things.
That's very
And then talk through, do you remember when I got accepted into UGA?
Yes, why don't you tell that story? It's amazing.
Why don't you? Okay, so what I remember of that story is I wanted to go pre-med. My dad went to UGA. My dad went to Georgia Tech. Let me make sure I clarify that. Dad went to Georgia Tech. I was raised a Georgia Tech fan, which is funny. But I had this desire to go pre-med, and I had the desire to either work with him in his medical practice and or do medical missions. So as a missionary, go into countries that didn't allow missionaries to come in, but I could come in as a doctor. And so I wanted to go to Georgia. I was at Cumberland. I had very good grades at Cumberland, just like I did in high school. But the transfer for the University of Georgia, you have to have 30 hours as of April 1st of that year to be accepted into the transfer. And I knew I was not going back to Cumberland. And I knew January, February timeframe that I was not going to go back. So I'd actually go ahead and apply. Rolling admissions, waiting for my application to get back. I called the admission office, I don't know how many times, had told them, I just feel like this is where God's leading me. One lady laughed at me. Another lady said, I understand. And then another lady eventually said, I hear you, but you don't have the hours. You're not going to get in. And so I can remember my parents making me apply to Young Harris. And I did not want to do that. I did not want to go there. And I wanted to go to Georgia. I wanted to be with you, but also felt like this is where God was leading me to go.
Right.
And so I finished up my semester at Cumberland, late April, 26, 27 timeframe, moved back to my parents' house, started working at the church because I interned at the church that summer. And I got a letter, I got an email, which I still have, which is fun, sometime early May. And they had said, hey, Matthew, we've extended the transfer deadline for you. And so I made sure all my paperwork was submitted. And then like a week later, while I was at the church, I got my acknowledgement that I was coming. And then I can remember telling you, saying, hey, I'm going to, I need to talk to you. And I had you come to the church. And I can remember outside in the youth wing, I think I was painting, doing youth ministry intern stuff.
I definitely remember the parking lot. I don't remember what you were doing inside.
Yeah, I don't remember if I was working on a Bible study for that summer for the students or if I was painting, which is funny. It could have been one of the two. But I can remember getting that email and then having you come there and telling you. And then we go to UGA. So you come in as a freshman, I come in. I actually get to transfer in as a sophomore, which is crazy because that following spring, so I came in the fall, all of my credits transferred, which is a total God thing. Normally that doesn't happen. All of them transferred the way they needed to. Met people that following spring that had all of the required hours that were not able to get in because your freshman class was the largest freshman class they'd ever had.
Right.
And they turned away normal, decent, met all the prerequisites of transfers, and I got in, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So we date throughout college.
Right.
Talk about. We're going to get into the advice later, but kind of talk through like we went from a very small school, Union County, very, very small, and like we got involved in the BCM, Baptist Collegiate Ministries. We had more people. I thought about this the other day. We had more people in the BCM than we did my graduating class.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. So I graduated with 146 people, which is kind of like a funny number to remember, but
Yeah.
I remember that. And yeah, the BCM was much larger than that. But I think what made the school feel small, because Georgia is everything but far from a small school, right? It's an SEC school. It's beautiful. It's in a very prominent town. There's a lot of other smaller schools, colleges around it. Lots of people there. But the first week we were there, one, it helps having you. It made it feel smaller of, I have my person, not just a person. I have my person here. We're going to tackle and this together and explore this together. But our first week there, we made a very...
That's you, buddy.
Okay, we got another one joining the group.
We got another one coming out.
Hey, AB.
Hey,
Come on out.
buddy.
You want to play with Walker?
We're playing checks in the woods.
You can come play, buddy.
Blue Angel.
You have a good...
I don't know how we're going to splice this in.
Then I'll go in and go like gummies.
This is easily one of my favorite episodes we've ever done. We just got handed popsicles. As we'll get into at some point, they're dye-free, which we're very thankful for. And they're delicious.
Huh? I like it.
So everybody's getting a popsicle.
All right now. All right.
So during our popsicle break here, we are in Washington, D.C.
Mhm.
We've been on a trip for the last couple of weeks. It'll be 20 days total by the time we get back.
I think so. We started on, it was August 27th, 28th. It was a Tuesday. So I think it was August 27th. And then we'll get back on September 12th. So right at 2.5 weeks.
2.5 weeks.
Mhm.
And we're currently in D.C. with our boys, which is super fun.
Mhm.
And the reason we came to D.C. is 9 years ago now, I think.
So it would have been the year I got pregnant with Walker. So 2017.
So 8 years ago, we came, and I can remember being very upset that we had been trying to get pregnant and wanting to grow our family. We knew early on that we wanted to have a family and have a big family and start early. And we chose to come to DC because we were at DC and we shared with my parents that we were wanting to try to get pregnant. And soon thereafter, we decided for you to stop teaching for a year at least, that you were teaching elementary school at the time. And we were able to, that next month, get pregnant.
So we came to DC in April.
And then the next month,
And then May, is when I turned in my resignation. And all right, now we're having a gummy break. Just want everyone to know this is not our normal afternoon snack menu, but
sometimes it's good.
That's very generous, Walker. Thank you. Can you open it for him? Okay, so yes, the next month in May is when I turned in my resignation. My principal, knew a little bit and was supportive, and championed me on, and also said when I was ready to come back that she'd be happy to have me back, which was super kind. But then later in May, at the end of May, is when we got pregnant with Walker, which is super cool. And the Lord was just very gracious in rewarding the step in obedience and faith that we took.
Yeah, it was so cool.
Drag.
So it's so cool to see God's faithfulness
Mm-hmm.
and to see how He blessed us stepping out in faith, right? Because early in our relationship, when we started moving towards marriage, especially in our premarital counseling after we got engaged, I can remember you and I having the conversation that your desire as an individual was to be a mom and ultimately to try to stay home and be a stay-at-home mom, which was I fully support and I'm very thankful for. It's one of the things that attracted me to you. But it was so cool to see God blessing that and to have that experience. So Walker's born February of 2018.
Mm-hmm.
We get home from the hospital on Saturday.
Okay,
And-
so let's rewind a little bit while we're pregnant with Walker. So
Okay.
if everybody's listening, remember I resigned from my job in May. And then what happened on October, Matthew?
I resigned from my job and opened our first business. And
Which he didn't. I will say he didn't just do that flippantly. Like that had been a lot of prayer and consideration from the both of us for a while. So it's not like he just came home and said, "Guess what? Neither of us have a job."
The timing was not great.
The timing was definitely comical. Like looking back now, just there's so many things in our life and marriage and parenting that the timing is just absolutely comical, which now having experience in marriage, we do laugh about and just say like, okay, Lord, here
But
we
we
go.
had prayed about the business side for 18 months.
Yeah.
And so we found this opportunity in Mosquito Joe,
Mhm.
and we were able to purchase some territories to open in 2018. And then come October, going into the fall, we found a closing franchise. And so the timing was right that we needed to go ahead and make a move on that. And so I gave a pretty extensive notice at my job and got transferred or resigned in October. So we go through the rest of the pregnancy. We get to the hospital time. Walker's born. We enjoy time in the hospital as best we can. I remember the first night, this for me, I remember the first night everybody slept. Not you
Yes.
quite as much because they're coming and checking on you, but I remember Walker slept really good. I slept great. And I can remember thinking like, we have this parenting thing figured out.
No,
And then we hit the second night.
I will say I didn't feel that way the first night, but I'm glad that half of our party did.
I maybe not figured out. I just thought we can do
Okay,
this.
we can do this.
We
yeah.
can do this.
Yeah, okay.
And then the second night he didn't sleep at all.
Right. Yeah, he woke up like every 20 minutes. It was pretty brutal.
And
As
I
I'm sure
remember
anybody who's had young newborns, first time newborns, can attest to what that's like.
Yeah. But I just remember like, oh no, this is gonna be hard. And that was, I knew it was going to be hard, and we had dear friends that had kids right around when we were having them, but it was just so fun to kind of see in my mind of like, this is really going to be hard. There's lots about early stages. What do you remember about early stages of Walker being home, new parents? So one of the things that we've said for a very long time that I appreciate, that I think is very important for any couple that's listening to this, when we got married, we became a family, you and I.
Yeah.
When we had kids, we just added to our family.
Yeah.
We didn't become a family when we had kids. I think that's an incredible distinction that's important. We got that advice. I don't remember from where, but we got that advice, and I'm glad that we've held to that. But when you think back to those early days, so almost 8 years ago now, when we brought Walker home, what do you remember about that time?
A lot of tears. That would be the biggest thing. That and your mom would be like, if I could close my eyes and use kind of my mind's eye to like envision that, would be a lot of tears and Nana.
Yeah.
Not because of Nana,
Sure.
but my mom was and is still working. So it was the middle of the school year for her. So she came on the weekends and she took a little bit of time after Walker was born. And she definitely came and visited also. So I want to put a plug out there. We have been blessed with two amazing moms and grandmothers who help all the time with our kids in terms of, if they need jammies or new shoes or whatever they're interested in. But during that time, she was still at school full time. It's the, middle of the school year. So her availability was, more limited. So a lot of tears from, I was very naive to think that motherhood would be easy, honestly.
Sure.
And kind of my thought in that was, it's empty.
So we have a water
We could
refill
just,
going on.
yeah, we could just keep going. So I naively, I didn't think that I was going to be like a fantastic mother. That's not what I mean by that. But
You are a fantastic mother, just for the
well,
record.
that's very kind. Mommy's going to hold that. That's not for you. I'll trade you. You take the water. I get that. You can take it to Dada, but take your water too.
Thank you,
Okay,
buddy.
we're delivering the AirPod container.
Thank you very much. Yep, you've seen this come out of my pocket, hadn't you? Thank you.
All right, come on, Warren.
There's your water, buddy.
So my naivety came from, I personally am trying to pursue the Lord in a growing relationship with Him. No more gummies. They're all gone. Matthew's trying to pursue a personal relationship with the Lord, and us together as a couple are trying to pursue the Lord and see what He has for our family and what He's trying to teach us, and all the things that I thought would make 1 + 2 = 3. But as a dear friend of ours, mom said, our children are beautiful little sinners. And so, very early on, not that his sin was what was making me cry, I just was very aware of my vulnerability and total dependency on the Lord, just like this child had total dependency on me.
Yeah.
I didn't yet know him. I didn't know what his cries meant. Okay, so I surprisingly remember where my thought process was
Nice.
going. So the lot of tears were, I didn't know Walker yet. I didn't know what all of his cries meant. I didn't know if he was hungry, if he had pooped, if he had gas. I just felt completely incompetent. And I thought, this is going to be something that I'm good at. And
Yeah.
I didn't feel good at it.
Sure.
Um,
And it was something you wanted. It was something that this was your dream, was to be a mom.
And had fervently prayed for.
Yeah.
For a long time before it came
almost 2
to
years.
fruition.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So, obviously now 2 years seems so short as you get more time removed. But in the time, 2 years waiting for something seems like a very long time.
Sure.
So, and I do want to say, like, whether you're waited 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years, if you are struggling with infertility, that is hard and you're valid in feeling that way.
Sure.
But so a lot of tears, and Matthew's mom just came to the rescue. And what I love is all it took is I called and said, I need you. I need your help. And she said, I'm on my way.
Yeah.
So she packed up her suitcase and came and helped. And whether that was giving Walker a bath, holding him, burping him, sitting with me, laughing with me, going to the grocery store, letting me go to the grocery store, anything that had a sense of normalcy is what I remember. And also now remembering newborn stage and knowing what we know now, I would encourage people to go eat as many restaurants as you want to or you can, because that is the easiest stage to take kids to a restaurant, is when they are sleeping in the car seat.
Yeah, well, the time in the car seats when they're not almost 3, like this little guy. So one of the things I remember from that time is I had no clue what postpartum looked like emotionally. I had zero clue what that looked
Right.
like physiologically within inside of you. And I can remember being so shocked of like, I was not expecting this, and way underprepared myself to feel like I could help you. And so one of the things I've learned as we've had more boys that you need, I don't know if this advice is valid for other women, but for what you need, you needed my presence.
Yeah.
That it's helped us so much in our relationship because I'm a fixer by nature. It's how God wired me. And I love to go into fix it mode. When you come to me with a problem or an issue, my natural inclination is you're sitting there grinning at me is to fix it. And there's been so many moments throughout our story and our journey that I can't fix it. And so that's
Right.
been a big learning thing for me with the Lord of saying, I want to fix this. You've called me as a man to be a fixer.
Mhm.
And in this moment, it's out of my hands.
Right.
It's solely in the Lord's. And what I need to do in that moment is to listen and to be
Mhm.
present. And for Walker, what was so hard is we came home on Sunday, and then I was in the office Monday because
Right.
our
Which
business
was
was
not the plan.
opening. It was definitely not the plan.
It was not the plan.
So things happen and didn't all happen the way we wanted it to, but they happen. And so we make it through Walker, and I can remember getting to 6 months, and he knew us. He was fun. He was
It's eating.
he was laughing, he was sleeping. And I can remember Dr. Baker, our pediatrician, saying, if parents could birth 6 months old, excluding the birthing process, we would never have an issue with having enough of a birth rate in our country. And I can remember once we got to that point, being like, oh yeah, I can see that. I can see why people have.
I also remember when he shared that. I feel like it was before the 6-month
Oh, it
period.
definitely was.
And another reason that I was weeping is I thought 6 months is such a long time. I can't even imagine making it 6 days or some days from now. And to go with what you're saying, I wasn't prepared for the emotional postpartum.
Yeah.
And honestly, even though I knew it happened with Walker and then Noah being a little different and Abel and Warren, you're not prepared for that.
Sure.
Or, I mean, it's kind of like the newborn sleep. You remember vaguely and it was hard, but you forget how hard and how difficult it is.
Yeah.
What? Okay.
Love you so much. This is so fun.
Also, I would say if we kept this recording going, or if we could tabulate and then put in the notes or something, how many times we pause it, this is what every single conversation with a fellow mom is like. So when we go on play dates, this is it. We have a conversation, we change a diaper, we have a conversation, we take somebody to the bathroom, we open a pack of snacks, we help somebody climb the wall, somebody tapping you to tell you another little secret surprise. I do see.
I know. And
Okay,
it's
another yellow jacket. Leave it alone.
so
So
fun.
you're getting the full raw effect.
Okay, so we go Walker growing.
Right.
We
So 6
feel
months, we joked about how like it was getting
yeah,
easier.
it's getting easier. And then we make it to a year, have a big
Mhm.
birthday party, super fun.
Right.
And then
Office
themed because we're both big Office fans. And you did a fantastic job. I remember all the fun Office themed things that you did, which is very sweet. I can remember making chili with Michael that night, super, super late at night.
2 a.m. in the morning. I wrote it down in our memory book.
And that was as the business was really growing.
Right.
And we were working 100 hours a week, 80 to 100 hours a week.
Yeah.
And so we kind of carry that into all of 2019, most of 2019.
Mhm.
And we start praying through as a couple, like, what does it look like for us to continue to grow our family? That we didn't feel like we were done. And we get pregnant with Noah. And I've shared a lot on this podcast about Noah and his story. We're going to do a deep dive on Noah's life and what we've learned on that, the kind of all the details that we can remember about it in another episode. So not while the boys are awake, because that's just a heavy thing for us to talk through. Not that we haven't talked through them with him, but we want to make sure that we're focused and alert and present with each other. And so we have Noah. Noah passes, and then very quickly we get pregnant with Abel. And I can remember having such concern myself, such concern for when Abel was born, would we be connected to him? I just genuinely remember being really concerned about that, because we had had such a raw experience with Noah. And, you know, I'd heard from other people about how any kid you have, like, your heart expands and you just can't believe, like, how can I love anybody else? I love this kid so much. I love my spouse so much. And I remember having Abel, and immediately the Lord was just really merciful to me, of, like, I can remember holding him, which may be the only son, now I'm thinking about it, in the hospital I had that moment with, of just like this is really cool. This is my son. And so Abel's born under a year after Noah was born. So very quick turnaround for you.
Yes.
For us, but for you. And then we're navigating life with 3 kids, 2 at home, navigating what that experience looks like, navigating our grief journey. We get from there, we continue to kind of progress as a family, and then we start praying about what would it look like for us to have another son.
Okay, so let's pause for just a minute. So I think also another crucial part you missed after Noah was born is we had that thing called the pandemic.
That is true. We did have that.
Yeah. So I would say, like, part of pregnancy with Abel, my main concern was the pregnancy, right? Like, I had the privilege and the honor of carrying Noah for the majority of his life.
Yeah.
But then I was scared, not that I, like, thought my body would fail me, because it did an incredible job of carrying Noah. Like, honestly, based on the diagnosis, which you said we'll get into later, my body did an amazing job of keeping him safe for the longest time possible.
Sure did.
But I just had this concern, like, well, what if something's wrong with Abel? And what if, like, I can't do a good enough job of growing and protecting him and nurturing him before he's born? And then I was terrified of birth, which you think would be illogical, because I was very nervous about Abel's pregnancy.
Oh, yeah.
And birth. So, I had 2 really great births with Walker and Noah, but I just was terrified, that something was going to go wrong. So we named Abel as a symbol of God's promise from scripture. And Abel definitely is a fulfillment of God's promise. That is sticks being wrapped up against stuff in the background, if you're wondering.
We have,
and now we got a rock.
Full boys. They are fully boys.
You got a stick. So, but I was just nervous, like, Abel's pregnancy was healthy. And I just was nervous of all the things that could go wrong in childbirth that you hear. And at the time, I'd made a really good friend who was a labor and delivery nurse. And, the stories that they share are just part of the job for them. But we
were pregnant during COVID, right?
Right.
We were doing church from home. We were social distancing.
Right. Well, yeah. And because we weren't sure the effects of COVID on pregnancy and pregnant women or infants. And obviously, based on our prior pregnancy, I don't want to risk anything. Yeah. So not that I was living in fear, not that we were living in fear, but also we're going to take precautions, because we don't know what this means. We're not an at-risk group in terms of ourselves, but we also are pregnant, and we just had a very high-risk pregnancy, and we're trying to do everything that we physically can to
we're trying to make the best decisions with the information that we have at hand, right? And then that's, I think, what we've tried to do all of our lives. And I think that's the best advice that we can give anybody, is just make the best decision with the advice you have at hand. for sure.
Right.
So we make it. Abel's born. Great delivery.
Yeah.
Great baby.
Yeah.
Just super sweet. Walker's a great big brother.
So to deter anybody who maybe only have one kid and are considering growing your family, 2, 3, 4, or whatever kids, I was always terrified. People would say like, "Oh, your first kid was a great sleeper. Just wait till number 2 or 3 or 4 or 5." That is just not a struggle that I would just say that just because you had a great sleeper with number 1 or 2 or 3 does not mean that your subsequent kids will be bad sleepers or great sleepers. They will just be their own person and will sleep how they're going to sleep.
Yeah, I think it's great
So,
advice. And the thing that what we've learned right with all of our boys is they're all so unique.
right.
They
Yes.
came from us, which is really cool, but they're all their own person.
Right.
And that's something that I've really wrestled with as a dad, right? As a young dad with a at home 7, 4, and 2-year-old is like all of them need different things from me.
Yes, and all it seems like at the same time.
And normally at the same time, which is very
Right.
comical. But it's this idea of like, hey, just like I'm a unique person, they're all unique people.
Mhm.
And trying to learn just because what works with one doesn't mean it's going to work with another.
Right.
And let's try to meet them where they're at, and let's try to be
Right.
the best parent that they need in this moment.
Right.
What is it? What's the slogan you always say? Fair is not always equal. Is that the way you word that?
Yes. Right. So like if you envision a fence to be able to see over a fence, right? Walker is going to be able to see over the fence with maybe one stepping stool because he's the tallest. But Warren's going to need 4 different stepping stools to help him. So it's not always going to be equal to be fair. Obviously that's a general example of being
Sure.
able to see something, but in all things, we all need a little extra help in different areas than someone else
Yeah.
would. So yes, fair is not always equal, which trying to explain that to young kids and honestly even adults sometimes is not.
Yeah, I have a
doesn't
hard time with it.
make
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have a hard time with that. Okay, so we get Abel, we hit a groove. We've got man-to-man coverage as parents. We've got 2 boys at home, and we're navigating life. So we're in man-to-man coverage
Right.
as parents, in that if one of them's upset, one of us can take one, and the
Right.
other one can take the other, and divide and conquer, all those things. And so we start praying like, hey, I don't think our family's done yet, which is scary.
Right.
It's scary after Noah's experience. It's
Mhm.
also scary just like, hey, what does it look like for us to add another one to our
Right.
family? And we're praying through like, hey, what would it look like if we had a girl, right? All the things.
Mhm.
And we try to get pregnant. We have some difficulty with that for a few months, and then we get pregnant. So we have Warnie, and
Yeah.
and he is affectionately our joy tornado. He's the one that's made the most appearances in this podcast for sure. He is so fun. He's so smart. One thing crazy that I have seen in him is, to my knowledge, he has never put his shoes on the wrong feet.
Correct. I
And
100%
that's
agree
a
with that.
weird thing if you don't have kids, but like our other boys did not do that.
Right.
And it's
All
just so
the
cool to
time.
see all of them, how unique they are. But he's our little bruiser, and it's
A
very
little
fun.
exclamation point to
Little
finish the Efird family.
exclamation point. So we have 4 boys: Walker, Noah, Abel, and Warren.
Mhm.
And we are currently on this great grand adventure. So
Yes.
before we started our great grand adventure, we started homeschooling.
Correct.
I've talked about that a teeny bit, but not a
Mhm.
ton on the podcast. So why don't we share a little bit about that as we're kind of coming to the end of this episode?
Sure.
And we're kind of put a bow on this, and then part 2 will come out next week, and we'll get into Noah's diagnosis. We'll have a full story about that. We've got some other news to share about.
We're not adding
adding
extra
any more. Just to
babies.
clarify for anybody that's considering, just our another son, a diagnosis that he has, as well as just overall kind of where our family's at, what we're doing, and maybe some fun questions at the end to kind of make it
Yeah.
lighthearted, as
Sounds
well as
good.
some advice that'll be kind of fun to end with. But let's kind of land the plane with this idea of homeschooling, right? Because we
Great.
both went to public school,
Correct.
and we went to a great public school.
Mhm.
And I'm very thankful for that public school. We've got a lot of friends that still work at that public school. And I'm very, very thankful for that. We were in a great public school community where we lived before we sold our house. And it's one of the reasons why we moved from the city that we moved from to the city that we lived for several years, was to send our kids there. And we get this kind of call from the Lord to really deeply consider homeschooling. So why don't you kind of talk about that experience, if you don't mind, for folks. I know there's folks that listen to this at homeschool, and I know there's folks that listen to this that consider homeschooling. So why don't you kind of talk through, like, what was that process for you on your side?
Sure. So like Matthew said, we both went to public school where we grew up, and my mom still actually works at that public school. We again both had great experiences. That was our plan for our boys and for our family, was to send them to public school. I was excited to be room mom, to do all the things, to be really invested in their classrooms with their teachers, with the other students and other teachers, and just really kind of remodel what we did as kids. And my mom and your mom were both very involved in the school, and I loved that as a kid. I loved that my friends knew who my mom was, and
Sure.
my teachers did, and I just loved everything about that. And like you said, we moved strategically to a place where we felt good about the public school option and sending our kids there, and we're really excited about it. Being a part of that community. So, and we did that. So for Walker's kindergarten year, we sent him to public school. I cried. Um, he had a very sweet teacher. He made good friends in the class. Um, he came home, enjoying it most days. They were long days, as anybody who has experienced public school. But it just was not seeming like the best fit for him, for us as a family. Again, it wasn't like one person that we had this wretched experience
Sure.
with, but again, we both just kept feeling like this just doesn't feel like it. So he, and then Abel, later as he got older, went to this like mother's morning out thing. And never once did I have that feeling of like, I don't know, I don't feel like this is the right fit. Like it always felt good. It felt,
Sure.
confident in dropping them off and picking them up. And I loved the teachers and I loved all the things that they were doing. And so just as the year progressed, I no longer had that feeling of like, this is it. This
Yeah.
is where we're going to continue. So we've said this for a long time, but it obviously came into more effect once we hit kindergarten and we have to go to school, right? We would just check in every year. Best fit for our family, best fit for each kid. And at that time, as the springtime of what would that be? 2025?
Well, no, this would have been 2023.
2023. Okay, yeah, because last year, 2024 to 2025. Yes.
Sorry, 2024. Spring of 2024.
Okay. So in spring of 2024, we no longer were getting the feeling of like, this is the best fit. So we started praying, like, what does it look like? We visited a local private Christian school.
So we get to the spring of 2024, and we
Right.
feel like this is no longer the best solution for our family.
Right. So then we looked at, is it private Christian school? There was one locally. We went, took a tour. Very great. A lot of our friends and family, their families go there. But again, we didn't get that feeling of like, this is the best fit. We're excited, like, this is it. And we started praying, Lord, make it abundantly clear what we need to be. Make us just so comfortable and confident that we feel like we can move forward. That is a crazy stick. And we didn't feel that there. So we kept looking for other options, and we started then really thinking maybe it's homeschooling. Well, then that, if you've ever gone down the road of homeschooling, opens up a whole nother can of
Sure.
what kind of homeschooling. Do you do a co-op? Do you do multiple days a week co-op? Do you, do a hybrid, whatever It is. So ultimately, the Lord led us to at where we actually attend church. There is also okay, buddy. Um, a homeschool co-op called CC, which is Classical Conversations of Jefferson. And so I went to one of the open houses there, and there was somebody in our Sunday school that their 3 kids are a part of that community. And so she had mentioned it, and that's how I kind of knew about it and went and wanted to see what it was about. And man, I left there elated.
I
I
can remember
remember,
you coming home just
oh
being
man,
so excited.
yes. I remember calling you. Did you know this about the American Revolution? I mean, it just was so cool. So there's these little, and I actually got to observe the class that Walker would be
Yeah.
in. So these are 6-year-olds, mind you. I just want everybody to kind of put that in their mind. They're reciting this history sentence, this rich history sentence about the American Revolution. And they sing a timeline song every week that starts from creation to the modern day presidents.
Yeah, I love that.
It's 12 minutes long on YouTube. And most kids, by the time they get to what you would call middle school, so 12 years old, they have it memorized. 12 minutes worth of information. So the whole classical model, I'm going to give like a short spiel
Sure.
on it. Classical Conversations was founded by Lee Bortons. She also had 3 sons. I think that's right. Maybe she had 4. Ooh, gosh. I should have fact checked that. Anyway, she had sons, and they raised their sons in the classical model. And by the time the 2 older ones were older, she came up with Classical Conversations, which is just this way of teaching kids that we have done for hundreds of years. And it has not been until modern education recent years that we've changed that model, which the model of classical education is a lot of repetition, a lot of memory. Got another little goodie in my lap. So classical education. So for example, a lot of our founding fathers were classically educated, Thomas Jefferson. And it's just a really amazing and effective way to learn information. And so I saw that when I went and observed Classical Conversations, the program that we then decided upon. So they do Latin and history and English and science and fine arts and oh, yep, like the English Channel. See, what
There
4-year-old
you
do you
go.
know knows where the English Channel is? So
So let me interject and let me ask you this. Okay, so one of the things that I've gotten a question a lot from my friends that we've talked about homeschooling with, whether I'm playing golf, whether I'm catching up on the phone, they say, "Oh, well, that's great because Hannah used to be a teacher, so
no,
she's going to be able to do that good. I couldn't do that."
right.
And why don't you address that? Because I've respectfully not beat them down, but
Right.
that's not actually a valid point, right?
Okay, yes. So that's what I was going to say is I totally understand that concern and comment. Okay, and I absolutely understand where you're coming from. And to be honest with you, even though I got paid to teach, I felt very nervous about my ability to teach my children
Sure.
in terms of all the subjects and things that they offer. Let me talk, okay? Ready? Okay, so what I would say to the people who feel ill-equipped to homeschool and teach their kids
Sure.
is my immediate response is, but God gave you your kids.
Yeah.
And therefore, he gave you the ability to equip them with what he wants you to teach them. Even if I don't know Latin. So I did teach first grade. I got paid to teach other people's kids. Dream job. So my actual dream job of being a mom, I felt very nervous about how do I teach my kids Latin? What if they're not getting it? What, they need a different teaching style than what I have. Like to be very energetic and which is I like to play fun games and sing silly songs and move my hands along and what doesn't work for my kids. So I also was nervous. And then you have this subject areas that I know nothing about. So the subject areas that I was already concerned about, calculus, chemistry, all the things that I know I didn't excel at. So how am I going to then teach my kids?
Sure.
But then you have these other subject areas that are totally new to me. Latin. Did geography that we study in CC, which I'm totally sold for, and it makes so much sense. I don't know all these geographical locations, so how I'm going to teach my kids. So the cool thing about CC is you are the lead learner as the parent, which means you lead in learning, in conversation, and the things that you're interested about and what you do with them. So if you're nervous about homeschooling, if you feel like you're incompetent, it's not true. God gave you your children and he will give you the ability to teach them. And if you don't know, the beauty of it is to say, I don't know the answer to that, buddy. Let's go to the library and look it up. Or let's find somebody in our local community who is an expert in that. Yeah. Ask them to teach us more about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the idea of for generations, this is the way that we've taught our children. Right. And you said it earlier, and I just want to make sure we highlight it. We made the commitment. We've made several commitments throughout our life, but one of them was we're going to make the decision every year what is right for our family and each of our kids at that time for school. That's just the decision that we made early on. And we've done that. And so now we're homeschooling all of our boys, which I'm so thankful for. And it's really fun to see. It's hard, right? And especially with personalities. We've got some strong personalities. God's given us leaders, which is a whole other conversation for another day. But what we've got in that is we've got this opportunity to help shape them like so many generations before us have shaped their family. We have been called to do that. And you see throughout scripture about teaching and equipping. And it wasn't until recently that this traditional, quote unquote, the new traditional school model, modern schooling, that's a better way to put it, modern schooling has come out. And I'm not a conspiracy theory person. I do like reading about them. I think they're trying to do the best with what they have, that they're trying to mass provide education to people. And we're just in this position that it's just not the best fit for our family.
Right. And we have the privilege to do something different.
Correct. We have that's a great way to put it. That we have the privilege to be able to do something different. We make sacrifices to do it, but that's what we're called to do as parents, is to make sacrifices. And so I'm very thankful that we're doing this. And as we kind of land the ship on where we're at right now, right? In the last 6 months, we've sold our house. We've bought land.
Yes.
We're doing a little family compound with our extended family, which I'm very excited about. And we're living in a fifth wheel, which is the thing there behind us. And we're traveling the country.
Right. So you started this conversation of tell us about homeschooling, and we're going on this great grand adventure. So that's it. We decided to homeschool last school year, and then we re-upped and said, this year for 2025 to 2026, that is also what we feel like is the best choice for all three of our kids, and to stay in the same homeschool model of CC and Jefferson, which we absolutely love. And
that's what my shirt's for those of you that are watching. And I hope you have been watching, because it's been very entertaining with all of
the. Just been listening.
It's worth going back and watching
to the video part. But yes, we sold our house, and we had already been camping in a camper, leisurely for breaks and things. But then Matthew said, "What if we delayed building a house on the land that we purchased, and we bought a bigger camper to have some more space and make it actually, functional and doable to do this more extended?" And so hence was born the Great Grand Adventures. And we made our own Instagram about it, the Wonder Wheels family. And we took our first Great Grand Adventure, our mega Great Grand Adventure this summer, where we went from Lake Hartwell to Canada and back and hit 14 states.
Yes, 14, 15 states, 9 national parks, 7,400 miles.
And over
We
It
were
was
gone
National
all
Park.
together. All together, we were gone. So we went to the beach. We came back, went to the lake, and then we went on a trip, and it was like 45 days total.
Right.
Between all that, which was very fun.
That I did not anticipate when we travel that far. Which, having talked to people since then, we travel that far, very standard.
Sure.
I did not prepare for that. But even amongst that, man, what a trip. And what a beautiful country we live
Yeah,
in.
it's
I feel
amazing.
like that's the banner that I would post. More than the hiccups and things that didn't really go as planned was we live in an absolutely beautiful country. And our God is so creative and generous in the things that he's given us to see and enjoy and experience. And now we're on our second great grand adventure, which we're calling a mini because of the time frame.
So not everybody can do these great grand adventures, right? That we've been very blessed to build the businesses that we've had, to have the time that we've created, and to be able to work in a lot of ways remotely, which has been very good. Just going to finish it. All right. So we've been given an opportunity to have this adventure and to have it together as a family, which I'm very thankful for. And we have an incredible team. Not everybody can do that. But one of the things that we've been very thankful for, it's not the reason we are homeschooling, is to be able to travel. But I'm very thankful that we are homeschooling, and it gives us some flexibility to do like this, traveling and go these different places. So we have this incredible opportunity to be able to go on these trips. Again, it's not why we're doing the homeschooling, but we are able to live on the road and travel a majority of the time for the foreseeable future, not forever, but the foreseeable future. We're going to be able to do that. And from there, we can go through, visit these incredible places and teach our boys that we're learning about things in DC, and we're here and we're getting to go show them. We're going to go show them the museums, the monuments. We're getting to go do these things, which is very fun. And so, love you, buddy. So what I would say to kind of close the conversation, this part of the conversation, I know we're going to come back to it, to close this part of the conversation is you never know where your family's going to go.
Yeah.
And one thing that I love is doing life with you, my favorite person. I tell you that all the time. And I may not tell you enough, but what's so fun is that we get to do this together.
Right.
And what I'm so thankful for being high school sweethearts is we have seen so much of each other's lives. Mm. We've seen each other through all of our 20s together. We were together as teenagers, all of our 20s and into our 30s, which is very fun. And so I'm very thankful for you. Thank you for being on the podcast. I know you were nervous to do it. You did great. Thank you for being on the podcast. Thank you for all of your support of me. And we're going to get into some fun things on the next episode. Some difficult things, but some fun things too. But I just want to say thank you. Thank you for coming on, sharing. Thank you for sharing part of our story, which is fun to share. And thank you for being here. I love you.
Thanks for having me.
Love you very much. All right, everybody. Thank you for pulling up a seat at the family table. It was different. It was fun. It was chaotic, but I'm glad you were here. And we will look forward to seeing you for part 2 coming soon. Thank you for pulling up a chair at the family table. We hope today's conversation has strengthened the bonds that hold us together. Don't forget to follow the show to keep these heartwarming stories coming your way. If you found value in today's episode, please subscribe and share it with friends and family. And if there's someone whose family story you think would be a perfect fit for the show, drop their name in the comments. We would love to hear from you and bring more families to the table. Until next time, cherish those moments with your loved ones.